There's 5 signs that you might have too much cortisol, which is your stress hormone.
The most common description of cortisol on the internet is that cortisol is your stress hormone. But I personally think that cortisol is more better referred to as your anti-stress hormone. Cortisol is released during times of stress. And unbeknownst to many, cortisol is actually an anti-inflammatory molecule helping to reduce the inflammation that is often associated with an external stressor. But during stress, cortisol works to increase the availability of fuel, specifically glucose, fatty acids, and even amino acids, making sure that your exercising muscles and your brain have enough energy to combat the stress. In fact, an impaired cortisol response is associated with musculoskeletal pain, increased pain sensitivity. It's also associated with exercise intolerance and weakness, as well as an increased rate of psychosis, depression, anxiety, mania, and cognitive impairments. And if you reduce the number of cortisol receptors within a mouse's brain, they developed an increased level of helplessness and an increased level of depression. While cortisol is released in response to stress, it does not cause the stressor itself. In fact, trying to mitigate any sort of cortisol release through supplementation may actually increase your level of helplessness and anxiety. And as cortisol is responsible for waking us up in the morning, minimizing cortisol through supplementation as much as possible may decrease levels of alertness and increase tiredness. Even more interestingly, of all the hormones studied, including testosterone, growth hormone, and cortisol and growth hormone are the only ones correlated with improvements in lean body mass and cross-sectional area, which is the size of a muscle fiber, in response to exercise. Therefore, the higher your cortisol levels go in response to exercise, the greater your resistance training adaptations. So consistently trying to reduce cortisol, especially cortisol that comes in response to exercise or even awakening, may actually have adverse effects on your cognitive function, physical function, mood, and more than likely your ability to cope with stressors for the rest of the day. But reducing cortisol prior to bed may improve sleep quality. Therefore, there are times during the day that we want our cortisol elevated and we want our cortisol levels low. But constantly trying to suppress cortisol because we think it is a stress hormone may actually be doing us a disservice when it comes to coping with stress. With that being said, if you would like an individualized approach to your nutrition and lifestyle to optimize your health, energy, and body composition, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.